Firstly, I'll introduce myself. I'm Taruni, and this was my first attempt in UPSC and also my last attempt. And I scored approximately 269 marks in public administration in my optional. So since this was my first and last attempt, I had a very tricky situation in hand. Okay. So I basically prepared for UPSC in 7 months. I had invested 5 months in prelims and I had invested 2 months in mains. So see the kind of strategy, given the time crunch, my circumstances, my health, because I was battling COVID. So I had to come up with an ultra smart approach for my PubAd. Because before the results came out, before my prelims results came out, I had absolutely no idea about public administration. I had no idea about the syllabus. I had not done any classes. I had not read any standard books. So basically I was a zero, okay? But I knowingly took public administration as an optional because see, this is important,
Madam,
you guys have taken
public... Sorry to interrupt, your voice is breaking, madam.
My voice is breaking, sir. Okay. Is it okay now?
Yeah, ma'am, it's okay.
Okay. So like I was saying, it's important to understand that you guys, everybody with a PubAd optional, you are at an upper hand compared to other students. So firstly, understand this, okay? See, I come from a background of medicine. So I could have easily taken medical as my optional. But the syllabus of medical is huge. You have like 14 subjects. And, you cannot complete medical with 2 months in hand. Secondly, I also have a degree in English literature. So I could have taken literature also. But given that literature is an artsy subject, so even if you go and perform your very best during the your exam, still you're going to fall behind a student who has a maths optional or a science optional. Okay. So with public administration, you are already at a plus zone. The syllabus is concise, okay, for public administration. There is extreme wider applicability. You talk about essay, you talk about GS2, you talk about ethics, you even talk about GS3, the finance related questions. Everywhere you will see PubAd. And obviously, see, each and every one of us wants to become a civil servant. So this is the subject which is closest to the job profile. Okay. And also there must be certain students amongst you who must be from the science background. There must be certain students amongst you who must be from the arts background. So public administration is a hybrid subject. It's very easy to score marks in this. If you attempt an answer, you can actually attempt it in the arts style or in the science style. So what I did was I actually made a hybrid of it. So I used to write in paragraphs also. I used to write in points also. I had many flowcharts, diagrams, tables, everything, incorporated into my paper. So this is the broader idea of why I took public administration and why you guys are already, you already are at an advantage compared to other students. Okay. So the screen that I'm sharing with you guys is simply a visual representation of how I prepared for my public administration. So the first thing, my results came out on October 30th, 2021. And the first thing that I did was I took out the syllabus. I got it printed and I stuck it on the wall, just on the side of my study table. So according to me, if you know the syllabus, if you know the question pattern, half of your work is done. It's as simple as that. Okay. And you guys are very lucky that you have Deepuk sir as your mentor. And I'm not saying this because he's our teacher and he must be listening. It's not like that. But his style of teaching, it's amazing. So he teaches the right amount. Because I have not been a long student of public administration. But even when I went to the market and I saw the notes of certain coaching institutes, which are very popular, like, Lookman IAS or something like that, they teach a lot. You cannot memorize all that and you cannot go and write in the examination hall. And you need to understand one thing. What you know is not important. What you go and write in the paper is actually the key. That is important. Because the examiner is not going to go into your head and understand how much you have prepared, how much you know, what is the depth of your knowledge. I'm pretty sure you guys, if you're multiple attempters, your knowledge base must be wider and deeper than mine. Because I'm being very, honest with you guys. But what you write in the examination hall, what you write in that paper will fetch you marks. Okay. So the first thing what I did was I took out the syllabus. Then Deepak sir's notes, they are amazing. He must have shared 3 notes with you guys. Please, anybody, can you unmute yourself and let me know? You must have gotten 3
Yes,
PDF
ma'am.
notes. Yeah. So those notes and Deepak sir classes, they are more than enough. Trust me. You will not require anything else. You just have to do smart preparation. So what you do is, if you're a first attempter, you take the printout of those 3 notes and you just read it in a go. You don't have to pause. You don't have to understand. You don't have to, spend time into understanding each and everything. You just read it in a go. And I read that in approximately 3 days. So this was done. In 3 days, I had familiarized myself with what is public administration. Then post the first reading, you again do a second reading. Now, during the second reading, you pause and understand things. You mark the important topics. You add sticky notes to your notes. You concise certain topics. You make mnemonics, tables, charts. And if there is something that you're not able to understand, just write it then and there. Internet is a very vital tool in that. Anything you can find on the internet, okay? So the second reading took me approximately 5 to 7 days, I'll say. Okay. Post that, what you do is, you take the question bank. You all must be having a question bank with you guys. So you take the PYQs and you just read through them to understand how does the examiner frame the questions. This is very important. See, my first impression of how the examiner sets questions in public administration was that they use a lot of flowery words. They use a lot of high intensity words. It's just, they mask the simplicity of the question under these complex words. They'll make you, feel like you're not able to understand the question. For example, if I tell you disaster management, blah, 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 I'm simply saying blah, blah, okay. Disaster management, blah, 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 district administration. Now this blah, blah will be filled with a lot of high intensity words, like Shashi Tharoor kind of words, which you won't understand. But I'm pretty sure you know disaster management, you know district administration. So this is the core of the question that you have to understand. So after these PYQs, what you do is, so after reading this PYQs, what I did was, I did prediction of questions. So do you guys know how to predict questions?
No, ma'am.
You don't know how to predict questions, like what will come in 2022, stuff like that? You don't know?
No, ma'am.
Don't know, ma'am.
Okay. Just then hold on a second. Huh? Just give me a second. See, this is very important, prediction of questions, because it will help you in prioritizing your topics and subtopics. This is very important. So listen carefully, okay? Yeah, this is it. Can you see the screen in front of me, the page that I've shared?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what you do is, see, I've written unit 1 and I've listed all the topics under unit 1 in the vertical column, okay? And I've written the question, the year 2015 to 2020 in the horizontal column. So what you do is, you take your question booklet, you take your question bank, and you see whether these topics are repeated in any year. For example, with Wilson, you'll start and see that whether this question has come in 2015, whether this question has come in 2016. No, it has not. But this Wilson, the topic came in 2017. So I put a tick mark. Did you understand what I said right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when you do this, you'll get something like this. The page that I've shared with you guys, you'll get something like this. So I had basically everything written, okay? You have to do this about the entire syllabus, because this is very, very important. This will help you to prioritize your work. So when you make such a table like this, you will see that certain topics get repeated. They have a pattern. For example, you'll see that Mary Parker Foley, the topic repeats every alternate year. Okay, so you know that if it has come in 1 year, it will not come during the next year. It will come every alternate year. Are you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There are certain topics like liberalization, privatization, and globalization, LPG, even though they're listed as different subtopics, but they come cumulative and they repeat every 2 years. Okay. So like that, you'll find patterns. You'll find that disaster management comes every alternate year. I think Woodrow Wilson comes every 3rd year. So like this, I had a proper syllabus. I had done a proper syllabus decoding, and this will help you the max. This was shared with me by Rohit sir. He's an IPS officer right now, and this actually helped me a lot. So even during this, decoding this question bank, you have to understand one thing. Firstly, there is pattern. Secondly, there are certain topics, like I've written it here. There are certain topics which have come in 2021. So the topics that have come during my examination in 2021, there's a high probability that they won't come in 2022. Did you understand? So these topics should go below your very important topics. Then there are certain topics, for example, let me share this with you guys. Yeah. For example, NPA had come in 2016, NPA had come in 2018, but during 19, 20, 21, it hadn't come. So these are important topics which are due. So they can come anytime. They can come in 2022, 2023. So these are again important topics which used to come, but they haven't come in a long time. These are known as due topics. Okay. Then there are certain topics which, they have come like twice in 10 years. So these are non-important topics, and they might come, they may come, but see, the probability of coming is very low. It's like 10 to 20%. And even if they come, you always have a choice. So I'll say that keep these topics at the bottom of your preparation. Like in your priority section, these should be at the end. So did you understand the prediction of questions? Do you have any doubt? Because I like to clear it right away. Anybody, if you have any doubt, please do let me know. Everybody understood? Should I continue? Okay. If you have understood them. Okay, yes, you have no doubt. Okay, sure. We'll continue. So this prediction of questions is very important. This is the most vital part. See, anything other than this, what I'm saying is very generic. You all know that. But this prediction of questions is the most vital part. So please, give time to this. You will understand this when you go and when you have to revise and re-revise your topics. You'll understand what this does. See, for example, I knew kind of at my hand that what topics are important and what I need to revise, and revision is the key. So this will play a very vital part in that. So post this prediction of questions, what you do is you prepare notes. Notes preparation is very important. I am a very lazy student. I've never prepared notes my entire life, but I knew that during mains I had to prepare notes. Otherwise, it will be a problem during revision and re-revisions and just before the exam also. So what you do is you take a topic, any topic. For example, I'll be sharing my disaster management notes. It's a very generic note. I have not written anything extra special in that, but I'll tell you how you can link it with answer writing. So what you do is you take a topic and you firstly write an introduction for the topic. Because in real time, when you're giving the exam, you cannot, make up an introduction. It's very difficult. You have a time crunch there. So it can be a quote said by someone. For example, when you talk about civil services, last mile approach, or barefoot bureaucracy, you can always quote Paulo Coelho. He said that the heart doesn't weep that the eye doesn't see. It's such a powerful quote, right? The heart won't weep for what the eyes don't see. So that's why we say that the elitist attitude, the ivory tower approach, the British legacy of bureaucracy that we are carrying should not be there. So these kind of quotes will come very handy to you when you write the introduction. Then post the introduction, you can also write the history of it. For example, just give me a second. Yeah. For example, these are my notes for development administration. Very normal notes. I've not written something very, I've not made something out of thin air, but I've written this evolution and I've put both India and the USA side by side. So I had actually in my answer paper, I had used this format for another answer. I had made this entire table like this. So this helps you when you're writing your, mains answers. This kind of evolution chart, these kind of things help you. Okay. So this starts from 1950s and ends till post 2000. So you understand what I talk about, what I'm talking about in evolution. Okay. So let's go back to that. So after writing this evolution or the history or whatever, what you have to do is you have to add one data to the topic. Now, data is very important because you need to have one good data about the topic. For example, see, I had such kind of pages with me where you can see, for women, like I had credit penetration to women is 12% in 2021. This is a data that I used to remember. Also, there's a very beautiful data about contribution to GDP. You'll see here, McKinsey Global Institute says that India could add $770 billion to its GDP by 2025 by just offering equal opportunities to women. So this is such a startling data. Can you imagine our country just offers equal opportunities to women and we can just add $770 billion to our GDP? It's such a huge amount. So this kind of startling data should be prepared in a table like this. You can either write them down or you can keep them in a computer format. Okay. So post data, what you do is you always add one example or a case study from either India or world. For example, I'll tell you guys, see, if you're talking about zero budget natural farming, can anybody let me know who is that one person who is credited with that in India? Anybody, you can unmute yourself and let me know. Yes, very good, Subhash Palekar. So
Subhash
this is,
Palekar, ma'am.
yes, very good, very good. So you all know that zero budget natural farming goes hand in hand, the term goes hand in hand with Subhash Palekar. Similarly, when you have midday meals, you always come up with the answer, Patra Foundation. When you talk about illegal sand mining, any mining, you always come with Durga Shakti Vahini. Okay. Also, when you talk about cradle to grave approach, there is something that the Tamil Nadu government, most of the students are from Tamil Nadu, I'm thinking. So there was a particular pilot project that the Tamil Nadu government was putting forth. Can you tell me what it is?
Is it Makkal number?
Yes, it's Makkal number. So it's a cradle to grave approach. It talks about predictive governance. So these are the case studies that you keep intact with yourself so that when you're writing the answer, they should actually come to your head. Sometimes, we know the answer, but until unless somebody asks us, we don't understand that we have to write that example or write that case study in there. I had a page. I'm not very sure where the page is. If I'm able to find it, I'll share with you. This is not my actual page, but I actually wrote it today. See, I don't know where I've kept my notes, but this is near about like this. I had a page like this. When you talk about Kiran Bedi, you talk about police reforms, jail reforms. When you talk about Vinod rights, gag, Durga Shakti, Nagpal sand mining, when you talk about TN session, or a C vigil, which is actually about MCC, your model code of conduct. So these are things that should be there in your head in a proper structured way. This is what I'm saying. Okay. For example, there was one good example. Yeah. Interoperable criminal justice system. This is something which is very, path breaking when it comes to criminal justice. CCTNS is something that everybody knows. When you talk about internet services, you always come with PM Vani, BharatNet. Okay. When you talk about single window approach, you talk about MCA 21. When you talk about civic engagement, you come with MyGov. This is something that the government has brought about so that the government can interact with the citizens. They conduct a lot of quizzes and games and competitions where you can actually go and write your viewpoints on this website. So this is civic engagement. You're actually transforming your democracy from representative to participative. You're giving your own opinions and views. So such kind of best practices should be written in a piece of paper. Okay. Anybody has any doubts till now? Or should we move forward? Okay, since nobody's saying anything, I'm hoping that you guys don't have any doubts. So post the introduction, the history, the data, the case study, what you divide your topic is into issues and solutions. This is also very important, okay? See, paper 1 is actually not that dynamic. Paper 2 is very dynamic and most of the questions come in this format, issues and solutions. So what you do is you actually list down the issues on one side and you write the solution, the exact solution to that issue on the adjacent side. See, it might sound very plain to you, but this gives you a defined idea. You don't have to mug up things because of this, pattern. For example, when you talk about disaster management, just give me a second, okay? Yeah. See, this is my actual note from disaster management. So I had one normal, India, there is a category 4 earthquake on 75% of the area. 85% of Indian area is prone to disaster. I had a quote from World Bank that every dollar spent on mitigation saves $12 spent on relief and rehab. And I also had this flowchart like this drawing made for proactive measures and reactive measures. So what I basically want to show you guys is this. On the left hand side, you have the issues. On the right hand side, you have the solutions. So this is basically what you have to write. And even if you remember these normal points, this is more than enough for you guys. For example, the first point we're talking about in India, we don't do disaster management. We either do disaster of management or management of disaster. Okay, the political executive always has a helicopter view. You have seen our politicians, right? They ride the helicopter and they see how the floods are. You can never understand the pain of people if you're viewing it from the helicopter. Only if you're just striding in the mud, you'll be able to understand what these people are going through. So this is an issue. And the solution is written just in front of it. Please, everybody mute yourself. There is someone who has not unmuted themselves. Please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Whoever has not muted themselves, please mute yourself. Are you guys able to hear me properly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you understood the first point. Now the second point is, as Indians, we always have a fatalistic attitude. For example, when there was an earthquake in Bihar, Mahatma Gandhi said that it was because of our karma. Even with COVID, people talked about karma, how humans are bad with nature and how karma hit us. But rather than having a fatalistic attitude, the second ARC says that you have to move towards prevention. You have to move towards preparedness. And that is the major catch here. Okay. Thirdly, disaster management is never a part of political agenda. You never see, politics happening because of Assam floods or, Kerala floods. It's never a part of the mandate or the political agenda. So awareness is very important. Citizens should be made aware. And disaster management nowadays, most of the boards have added it in academic curriculum, but not all the boards have done that. So disaster management is not something that people talk about a lot. It's everything like how a hand of God is there, it's karma. So this needs to change. Then there is something that P. Sainath said, that everybody loves a good drought. Because according to him, disaster is only for the poor. This disaster, even the response to disaster, is just intermingled with corruption. So you have to eliminate the corruption. Similarly, you'll find all these issues listed on one side. I won't read them one by one because obviously you guys can read it. And then you have the solution listed on the other side. Okay, you can do taxation on water, you can do vulnerability index, you can create sponge cities, you can use Odisha's flood atlas model. So these are the things that you can basically do. Okay. Do you have any doubt till now?
Ma'am, I just have a doubt with this disaster management topic.
Yeah.
How to make answers of disaster management more like a PUBAD answer and not like GST?
Yeah. See, I'll share it with you. Okay. So you understood this, now? You understood the solution and issue model. And post that you just add a conclusion. So your notes are ready. For one topic, for very important topics, you have to do this. For important topics also, you have to do this. But the topics that you know are not going to come into the examination, you should not put that much of an effort into creating those topics. Okay. So I'll share with you something. This is basically the note of disaster management, which I had made. And during my preparation, when I was giving my mains test series, the first exam that I sat, I had a question on disaster management. And this is a real-time answer. See, this is not an answer which I had prepared beforehand or I'm writing it now. Because if I write an answer right now in half an hour and I present to you and I say that I had written this in my my mains OIA test series, it will be very dishonest. So I'm sharing with you guys an honest answer about how I wrote from these notes. See, so what I got was the question was challenges of climate change to district administration. This was something that I got. Now this answer is not at all perfect, but I'm showing you how you can convert these notes into answer. So I firstly used was Kofi Annan's comment that a climate change is traveler without passport. Then I came to challenges of climate change to district administration. See, whenever you get a question regarding district administration, secretariat, always think like one. If I'm in the secretariat, how will I take up that challenge? If I'm an IS officer, how will I take up that challenge? What are the issues that will force me to make certain changes in my approach? Okay, so challenges of climate change to district administration. This is what I basically wrote. I talked about real-time technology. I talked about increased funds. I talked about training the personnel for disaster relief. I talked about financial burden. I talked about how you can improve your land practices. I talked about how you can manage PHCs because the disease burden and the endemicity increases. I talked about coordination between various departments because we are still working on an archaic framework. I talked about how disaster resilient infrastructure can be made. You can also give an example of how Singapore has transformed itself and China has transformed itself with the collection of sponge cities that they're making. Then I've also talked about how both development and ecological sustainability, they're contradictory. So SDG 11 and 13 are basically contradictory to one another if you look at it from a district administration model. Okay. Also, the district administration is very much dependent on the central government and the state government for the sharing of data. They don't have much access to the data. Then there's also a point about how we have to find newer technologies which are alternative to certain climate change models like pollution, acidification of water. For example, when you talk about stubble burning, you have Pusa biodecomposer right now. You have Happy Cedar right now. These are the things that is going to give us alternatives to the main thing. Okay. Then there's loss in revenue. So the district administration also suffers loss because there's a loss in revenue from the public. There's loss in the tax that is collected. So hence global warming mitigation techniques have to be researched and answered at all levels to stop the menace from hindering development and growth. This is a very generic answer. Okay. But I'm telling you guys how you can transform the notes which are basically written and write a real-time answer. This is an average answer, which I actually written during my mains OIA test. Okay. So coming to your answer, whoever asked me that question, I will actually let you know after this Kautilya slide passes. I'll let you know. Okay. Do you have any doubt till now?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah. Hello. Please go ahead. Ask your question. Please go ahead. I'm waiting for your question. You're not audible. I'm not able to hear you. Okay, see, you can ask your doubts at the end of the class, okay? Because I'm not able to hear you right now. Anybody else has any doubts? Anybody? If you have any doubts, please do let me know because I'll just clear it right away. Okay, if you don't have any doubts, please mute yourself because there's a lot of echo that is going on.
Ma'am, I think as the host, you can mute the participants if you want.
The host, let me see. Just wait, okay? I'll just mute somebody if they're... I'm not able to find who is there, who's unmuted.
Kirtana Krishnan.
Please mute yourself. I'm not able to find you, you know. Okay, so very well. So we'll move forward. So after you have prepared the notes, okay, in this format, what you do is for the revision and the re-revision, what you do is you make crisp notes. Now, I don't have these notes with me because after, you know, my mains and my interview, I actually kept these notes and I had COVID. So I am basically, you know, quarantined in a room. So what you do is you take all the notes you have prepared and you use the very important topics and the terms that you forget, and you concise everything in max 3 pages. For example, I'd concise the entire paper 1 in 3 pages. See, if I find the notes, the crisp notes, I'll share with Deepuk sir and share with you. Okay. So this is very, very important because these notes will help you right before your exams. You don't get time to, you know, study 100 pages. Just right before your exams, what you do is you can just read through this crisp notes. Okay. And then another important thing, to differentiate your questions, your answers from plain quality answers, what you do is you prepare a page that contains important terms on public administration. This is very vital because the teacher should know, the examiner should understand that you are not a student of just polity, you are actually a student of public administration. For example, if you have, you know, you can add stuff like, in India, we say that if you cannot commit to it, commit it. This is something that you'll use again and again. Something like Babu dominated service. Babu dominated service is something that you can use because it's used in public administration. You can use terms like cutting edge stuff. You can use terms like, you know, reinventing, re-engineering government. So this kind of a PDF with important terms is very, very important. I don't know if I have it with me right now. Just give me a second. Yeah. See, this is not the exact thing, but I had something like this. Terms like bureaucratic mobility, proactive, not reactive, you know, bureaucracy is commensurate with societal growth. Then you talk about downsizing, right sizing. You talk about how Britishers made Indian civil services an eyewash. You talk about job enrichment, vertical job loading. You know, you talk about integration, you talk about Norbert Wiener cybernetics, you talk about bureaucratization of politics and politicization of bureaucracy. So these are certain terms. These are certain terms, not this which I'm actually sharing with you guys, but there are certain important terms, you know, that a student of public administration only uses. So you actually create a PDF like this and you use these terms. It's very important. It will be very handy to you guys. Just wait. Yeah, for example, a public administration student will always use, you know, terms like barefoot bureaucracy, Peters principle, Parkinson's principle, the ivory tower, elitist attitude, or, you know, elite mass model, time and cost overruns. These are certain terms. See, you might find it very like plain and generic, but this will help you. You always need to find such terms, and you need to put them in a particular PDF because that is going to help you. This will help you differentiate. It will look. So anybody has any doubts till now?